It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
As humans, we're naturally driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search. Match with Indeed. When I was looking to hire someone, it was so slow and overwhelming. I wish I had used Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Tape Deck Media.
Ruddle me this, ruddle me that. We got the riddles that'll make you chat. Oh yeah, baseline stuff been through this tight. Get your funk on, we're rocking tonight. One more time.
Good morning, Ruddle Maniacs. Welcome to the Best of Ruddle Me This podcast for 2004. It is just a couple of days to Christmas, so I'm going to assume that you're probably off work now. Hope you're having a bit of a relaxing time, and I hope you've got some cool stuff planned for Christmas. Now, I've typically never been a fan of the best of podcast episodes, because I typically am a completionist, so I tend to listen to every single episode as it comes out when I'm listening to podcasts that I really like. So to me, best ofs have always just been hearing the same stuff that I've already listened to when it was dropping live. But I saw a thread on Reddit that said people wished that more podcasts would do a best of episode, and so I thought I've got a little bit of time on my hands towards the end of the year. Why not give it a try? So what I've done is I've gone through and listened back to some of my old episodes and picked out things that are either particularly thought-provoking or funny, and I've chopped them all up and I've put them together in this best of episode just for you, dear listener. Before we get into that, one quick plug to get out of the way. Make sure you head along to my YouTube channel at Taylor Ruddle Comedy, where you can watch my next comedy special, Panic at the Buffet, completely free, right on YouTube on the 26th of December. I hope old Saint Nick is going to be bringing you some cool new digital devices, and why not christen your new iPad, your new laptop, your new cell phone by going along to YouTube and watching Panic at the Buffet right in the comfort of your own home. As for right now, let's get straight into the best of. So the first clip is from episode 80, Olympics and Fatherhood, with comedian Tim Kelly. Nobody makes me laugh harder than Tim Kelly, and this part here, I was actually doubled over with laughter on the sofa, so I hope you enjoy it. Because we grew up in the countryside, which we're like...
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting you're a fucking Hick.
a Selwyn...
Taylor Hicks.
Yeah, that's the one, man. But I'm not... The weird thing is, like, I wasn't really one of them. I was, like...
I was made for so much more. This small town ain't big enough for Broadway.
Yeah, that's my dream of stardom. No, it was mainly because I didn't actually work on a farm. Like all my classmates, they would be like in summer. You text them like, hey,
rearing
what are you saying? Like, oh, I'm grubbing thistles, or I'm like, helping deliver calves or whatever.
Money in it though. I know.
There's a lot of mental health issues that come along with it, I think. Like, apparently farming is, like...
100%.
Well, it's like isolating, I think, because you just, like, you're on your farm.
You're just angry at and then you see those stories of farmers just hitting cows with metal pipes.
Really?
Have you ever heard that?
No, I've never heard of that.
It was like an Invercargill guy or something got done for beating cows with metal pipes.
Was that a mental health?
And I can just see him just go pissed off from his wife or the banks or how they get involved in governments like that. Like the bloody Labour ban. And then just sort of fucking wailing on these poor cows.
Oh, no. The bank is always the funny, like that's the, you've got like the mongoose and the cobra. They're like each other's natural predator or whatever. Like the farmer and the banker are the two that, because like.
There's 3 on a bank of a shore. There's only 1 boat and 2 can go across at one time.
Wait, so you've got a farmer, a banker, and then
a politician.
You can't leave the farmer alone with the banker. Otherwise he will pummel. He'll beat him with a metal pipe. Wait, so you've got a bag of grain, a farmer, and a banker. Oh my god. Oh fuck. Oh, that got me. Oh shit. But like, okay, this next clip is from episode 47, The Odyssey with Dan Bain. We were talking about a summer outdoor theatre play that Dan Bain produced called The Odyssey, or based on The Odyssey. The reason I was particularly happy with this segment is because I typically I feel like I don't prepare well for interviews. So for this interview, I prepared some questions ahead of time, and I was very happy with those questions. Hope you enjoy it. All right, so we got about 10 minutes left. Let's go through our kind of hopefully rapid fire questions, but some of them might be a little bit more in depth. So we'll see how you get on. So, do you have a favorite Greek god or goddess?
I'm a fan of Daedalus.
Which one was Daedalus?
Daedalus makes the wax wings that fly. Whose son is Icarus. So he's kind of an inventor.
Oh yes, that makes sense.
Yeah, he's more of a person than a god. I think he's immortal.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Is that just for his ingenuity?
I think so. Yeah. He kind of crops up a lot with kind of just making kind of this and that through various things.
So I guess he would. The next question was your favorite Greek hero. I guess he would be kind of the same under the same umbrella if he's not quite a god, but he's a
I mean, I don't know if he kind of quite fits into that hero mode. Just he's more kind of cute at James Bond, I guess.
That's a good analogy.
Is the role Daedalus plays? I like Theseus.
Yeah,
I like Theseus. I like the Minotaur story.
Yes.
I think that's cool.
So then if you could have any of the ancient Greek mythological artifacts, like the golden fleece, the staff of Hermes, the Aegis, do you have one that you would love to, maybe the wax wings? Like, what would you like?
Yeah, do you know the dragon teeth?
No.
So the teeth there's a dragon that gets killed, and they take its teeth and they plow the earth and they sow the teeth into the earth, and every tooth that they plant grows out into a fully armed warrior.
Wow.
So it's this kind of the idea of sowing dragon teeth, and it grows out these warriors, which I think is an extraordinary artifact.
That is, yeah.
It's just a bag of teeth that you can kind of assemble an army from.
Fantastic. So the next question is, if you were one of Penelope's suitors, what would you do to stand out over the other 107 and seduce Penelope?
A couple of things. First of all, I would bring my own food.
I'm sure that's a bit of a bugbear with them, isn't it?
Yeah, they all set up in the kind of the courtyard of her house, and I don't know, like they're very much kind of persistence suitors. That's kind of their model, is like, we'll just be here until you choose one of us. But they eat all her food, they drink all her wine, they throw a footstool at a maid. There's a bunch, they kind of are unpleasant, and so I guess to stand out, I would bring my own snacks and maybe just try and be charming.
There you go.
I feel like that would go a long way.
It would, because that's one thing that it's constantly mentioned, is that they're always eating the food of the house. So that's obviously a sticking point for them. So then, If you were going to offer a large wooden animal to a rival as a method to sneak behind their city walls, which animal would you create?
Oh, lemur.
Nice.
Irresistible.
Yeah. So then, what do you think of the ship of Theseus thought experiment? Do you think it is the same ship?
I think it is depending on the. I think it's time dependent. On how quickly are you doing the replacing. I think if you do the replacing over like a really short period of time, maybe it is a different ship. But I think if it's over an extended period of time,
yes, gotcha.
The wairua of the
the mana of the ship
of the original
gotcha.
Of the original thing kind of carries forward. Carries it through. Yeah.
I should have actually explained that for the listeners in case they don't know. Ship of Theseus is the idea that if you replace every single part of a ship, or a lot of people use it for cars nowadays, the question is it still considered the same vehicle? But I think I agree with you that if it's all at once, then yeah, it's kind of done. It's gone in an instant. But if it's over many years, I think I'd agree with you there. So then, do you feel
there is a very stupid gag about the Ship of Theseus conundrum in the show that
fantastic.
That I then had to explain to the actors. They're like, what is this? Why is this funny? I'm like, this will be funny for about 5 people. They're going to love it. Everyone else will be like, that's for them.
Fantastic. Yeah. All right, got a couple of minutes left. If you were going to eat the livestock of Helios, how would you cook them?
Ribs, I guess. I think ribs. Yeah.
Good choice.
Yeah. I reckon they've got
a couple of quick
good marbling.
Yeah, I can imagine. So this one here. If an Odyssey refers to a long and eventful or adventurous journey or experience based off of Odysseus's journeys in the poem, what would a Dan Bain Odyssey look like?
Probably going to some gigs and having someone shout at you, and then being late home because I stopped at McDonald's. I don't know. Nice. My journeys are fairly moderate comparatively.
So then one more that I think we'll end with. So an interpretation of the shield of Achilles that I quite like. So if the listeners don't know, Achilles' shield has got some very specific imagery that they write about, and I think it's the Iliad. It might be something else, but so the shield of Achilles. The interpretation that I like is that the imagery on the shield represents all of the things back home that are precious to him, reminders of what he is grateful for and fighting to protect. What images would be on the shield of Dan Bain?
I guess it's some sort of family representative thing. Maybe the face of the dog, just kind of because she's dumb and everyone loves the dog. If you have to render things down. Maybe a big question mark, because I like the idea of that the unknown is the kind of the place of big possibility, and that feels like something worth defending. And then maybe a chicken wing. To kind of represent comfort and chicken wings.
Fantastic. This next clip is from episode 50, Dan Bublitz Jr.'s 10 Tiny Joys. We kind of bonded on the differences between what types of chips you can get in America. Crisps for my listeners over in Old Blighty. And I don't know, are there any other names for chips around the world? Let me know. Leave a comment if you know of some others. Dan is also the owner of Tape Deck Media, the podcast network that you are currently listening to this podcast on. So shout out to Dan. Thank you for coming on the podcast, and I hope you enjoy the clip.
My road snack, I like popcorn. I love... what is it? Smart Pop or something, or Smart Corn is the brand, I think, but it's just like the white cheddar. That's probably my number one, or spicy nacho Doritos.
Is it those purple ones?
No, they're just nacho cheese, but spicy.
Oh.
They're more of a fiery red, I guess.
Yeah.
And then it's more of I think it's more of an American brand, but they're called Salsitos.
Oh, it's a corn chip.
It essentially, it's kind of like a round Dorito. Yeah. And like a salsa. It's so good.
Yes, I think we have an equivalent here. And the one thing I've noticed about those particular ones is they're a lot firmer than the typical Dorito. I feel like the Doritos fall to pieces quite easily. You might laugh at this actually, but Doritos have been around for a long time in America, I assume. So I can genuinely remember the way they drip fed the flavors of Doritos into New Zealand. So we started off with a brown flavor that was barbecue. And then I believe they introduced two different, it was like a yellow and a red one. They were both different types of cheese. And that was it for a long time. That was it for probably 10 years. Then they introduced those purple ones, which blew everyone's mind. And I think those are probably like the most popular ones.
Yeah, those are the chili, I think.
Yep, sweet Thai chili.
Sweet chili, yep.
And then probably 3 years ago, we got Cool Ranch for the first time. Like we didn't have Cool Ranch up until very, very recently.
Wow, that's wild because Cool Ranch was kind of their signature. Like their signatures, their two flagships are just nacho cheese and Cool Ranch.
Cool Ranch.
Those were the two main ones for the longest time.
I think Kiwis probably don't quite get the scale of how ranch is in the States. It's
my God.
It's a big thing.
Ugh. I'm not a big ranch. For me, ranch is only good on salad and for dipping vegetables. Other than that, I get almost offended anytime somebody asks. Like I went to Applebee's today and met a friend for a happy hour, and I got mozzarella sticks, and they're like, "Do you want ranch with your marinara?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want ranch with these. What do you get out of here? Get out of here with that."
That is an interesting combo. I also suspect the ranch you can get in New Zealand is different to the American ranch.
I'm sure.
It feels here like it's treated more of a salad dressing than as a dipping sauce.
Mm-hmm.
There are some
as it should be. It is a salad dressing.
That's fair, yeah. Maybe we've got it right then. I know we have a Carl's Jr. here, and they do quite a good ranch dipping sauce for the tenders. But that's the only time I've really enjoyed it. The ranch Doritos didn't really do it for me either. We're really getting into the weeds with these chips. This next clip is from episode 57 with Tom Lucas. It is Tom Lucas's 10 Tiny Joys, back when we were still doing 10 Tiny Joys. Tom recorded this at my dining table. It was one of the first that I had done in person with somebody, both on the Yeti microphone. And in this clip, we talk about one of his guilty pleasures was a particular type of struggle meal / snack food that I was just enamored with. This next clip is from episode 57 with Tom Lucas. It is Tom Lucas's 10 Tiny Joys, back when we were still doing 10 Tiny Joys. Tom recorded this at my dining table. It was one of the first that I had done in person with somebody, both on the Yeti microphone. And in this clip, we talk about one of his guilty pleasures was a particular type of struggle meal / snack food that I was just enamored with. Alrighty, so number 10 on your list, and we're coming up basically in an hour, so this is perfect timing.
Nice.
A pie on a barm cake. What is a barm cake?
Okay,
so it's for the listeners. Tom just perked up there. I saw the delight in his face.
So a barm cake is, I'm from Manchester, right? So like every place in the UK and every place in New Zealand has like a different word for what a barm cake is. But a barm cake is essentially like a bread bun, I presume you guys call it.
Right, yeah.
Like a bread bun, a little bit softer.
Yeah.
It's nice and it's like a burger bun but with no seeds or anything like that.
Yeah.
So that's a barm cake. But a pie on a barm cake is like, it's dirty, it's filthy.
So this is you slice the bun in two and you put it in between it's like a pie burger.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm surprised we don't have that here, to be honest.
It's it's the best thing. Like So in the UK, we've got like I've not seen them so much over here, but we have like a meat and potato pie.
Yeah.
So it's like carbs on carbs on carbs.
Yeah.
It's so good. But it works with any pie. I think I did it over here with I got a butter chicken pie for lunch on a bam cake.
Interesting.
It's incredible.
So this is something you can make yourself. Would you just get a bun without?
If you go into a bakery or anywhere that sells a pie and just ask them and just do it once, I swear to God you will not regret it. They'll look at you like you're an absolute crazy person.
Would you use the phrase barn cake? Barn
cake.
Sorry, barn. I was saying barn as in like the thing that all the animals live in.
It's weird because in the UK, in Manchester, you call it barn cake. London, they call it, I think, a bread roll. Yeah. And then Yorkshire, they call it a bread cake. It's weird. Wow. But it's not a cake. Yeah. But yeah, it's weird.
Well, it's like how the US call what we would call scones. They call them biscuits. And you're like,
yeah,
what?
Yeah,
how is
that's
that
messed up.
Yeah, exactly.
That's messed up. Yeah.
So pie on a bun. So then, if you were going to do it here, how would you'd say, could I please have a pie on a bread roll? How would you say that to them?
It's the most difficult thing to ask for. Because you go in and you're like, all right, hear me out.
Yeah.
And that's always a worrying thing to say to a bakery assistant.
You just put your hand on there, like, stop.
It's going to be okay. Yeah. Just listen.
We're going to get through this together.
Okay, so I want a pie, okay, but I want a pie on like a burger bun, but with no seeds, and I want you to butter the burger bun and put the pie in the middle, okay? I want the pie in the middle and then smush it together. I want that. Yeah. And they're just like, okay. Just like
it's like you're John Wick going in there and requesting like this thing, and they're just like, I understand. And then,
it's amazing. Everyone thinks like I've had multiple people comment on it saying like, that's disgusting, it's carbs on carbs. It's like, just how can you even eat that and not feel like a gluttonous monster at the end of it? And I'm like, no, it's the best thing. Trust me. I don't know why it works so well, but it works.
Well, I think people underestimate, because another one that you'll probably know from the UK is the pot noodle sandwich. You've seen people do it before. Yes. How do you feel about those?
Yeah, I don't mind it. Pot noodles are like the worst thing in the world.
To those New Zealand listeners, they're probably the equivalent of our sort of Maggi 2-minute noodles, right? They're cheap instant noodles that are they usually spicy?
No, sometimes you can get like chicken and mushroom flavour, beef and I forget beef and tomato, I think it is.
Wow,
that's nice.
Yeah, that actually sounds alright.
But there's so much sodium. So much sodium. Yeah. They're good though.
This next clip is from episode 64, donating a kidney with Seán Williams. Now, Seán was a stand-up comedian here in the local Christchurch scene. She has, unfortunately or fortunately, however you look at it, moved over to the UK in Edinburgh with her partner Aaron. I miss her dearly. I really enjoy chatting with Seán. I feel like the two of us had a really, really good banter on the podcast, and so obviously the episode is about Seán donating a kidney, which could be quite a heavy topic, but I was laughing throughout the whole episode, and this is just a snippet of that conversation.
For me, I didn't really panic about it until the night before. Yeah. That was the first time that my brain was like, am I doing something real dumb? But then I sort of put myself in the position of someone who would be getting my kidney, and I was like, I can't take that away from someone, and I don't want to. And any sort of fear that I'm feeling at that moment is nothing compared to the fear of dying. Someone that needs this, otherwise they're not going to survive much longer. And just putting it into perspective like that, I think really helped. So I don't think it would have mattered if I'd had a month, 2 months notice or 10 days. I don't think it mattered too much.
That last sleep before surgery though is a tough one, eh? Like when you were you all by yourself that day, or did you have kind of support network around you?
So I was actually working the day before. So right up until
God.
Yay, corporate system.
Capitalismo.
Woo. So that in a way was good because I had work to keep my mind off things. I
suppose that's true.
And I went in quite early in the morning to have it done. But yeah, slept in my own bed the night before and was kind of like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
But then actually by the time I woke up and was like making my way to the hospital and stuff, I was feeling pretty good about it. And they give you some sort of sedative, happy drugs before you go in, which help as well. So I was on cloud nine.
Yeah, I suppose you wouldn't have been fretting too much at that point. So when you actually go in for a surgery like that, how early do you have to go in? Quite early in the morning?
Yeah. So it depends what time you're booked to actually have the surgery. And I was first on the list for the day, I guess, and that starts at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
But of course, you have to do all the prep work beforehand. So I think I had to be there about 6:30.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was quite intense, and there was a lot of, are you sure you want to do this? I'm like, mate, I already panicked last night. We're good.
That's mad that you can still tap out right up until game time.
And they say that throughout the whole proceedings of it, they say, you know, if at any point you don't want to do it, you have up until you're unconscious basically on the table, even if they're about to sedate you and put you under. If you're like, no, actually, I've changed my mind, then that's totally fine.
Wow.
And it's quite interesting because each step of the process, they won't, so say you have a test for something and you're waiting for the test results. So you have an MRI, for example.
Yeah.
In most cases, the hospital will contact you or the doctor will contact you saying, yes, you know, this is broken or it's not, whatever. But with kidney donation, they don't tell you anything. You have to call them every step of the way to follow up on your results. And it seems really annoying, but the reason that they do that is so that no one feels coerced into doing it. They want it to be 100% your decision. So, you know, if you'd had a test and then they said, hey, this is your test result, do you want to book in for the next test? You know, you may feel like, oh, crap, now I have to, you know.
Like when you get a really aggressive upselling, like masseuse. I hate to derail this, but I have to tell you this story. Like, I went in for a massage because my back was just buggered. And as I was leaving, they tried to sell me this package of like 7, like basically a punch card of like 7 more. And I was like, they're like, oh, you're saving like $100. And I was like, well, yeah, that's fine, but I don't have $600 like on me right now to buy this package. And like, she just didn't get it. She was just like, but like, you know, look at the savings. And so like, I do appreciate that they don't have that pushy salesman kind of kind of thing with this sort of surgery. But sorry to derail you, please.
No, that's
continue.
okay. Imagine that though, like, oh, your kidney, how about part of your liver?
Yeah, while I'm in there, can I just help myself?
Take some more,
help myself to some stuff. What about your spleen? You're not using that anymore.
Actually, that's interesting that you mentioned spleen. I totally forgot. So when I was in recovery, I had this surgeon come in and he goes, has anyone talked to you about your spleen? And I was still high as hell at this point. So I was like, I'm pretty sure I donated a kidney, not a spleen. Like, what the hell is going on? And he sits down and he goes, you've got a weird looking spleen. And I just started laughing. And I was like, am I hallucinating? Like, what the hell is going on? And he said, oh, so while we're in there, we noticed that your spleen has all these like nodules on it. And I took some photos, do I have your permission to send these photos to a spleen specialist? And I was like, what? Yeah, sure, go ahead.
You just did that sign thing, you know, when you sign for a mail package and it's on that LED screen. You put a scribble.
Sure, yeah, go ahead. Anyway, it wasn't a very exciting conclusion. They just said sometimes people get nodules on their spleen and it's not anything to be worried about. But it was just him saying, you have a weird looking spleen. I was like, all right.
A medical professional saying that to you. Weird looking was the word he chose.
And he, had to consult a specialist because he wasn't sure what was going on, but no, it was all fine. So, you can always find out other things about yourself, even if that's not what you're in surgery for.
So much body shaming in this.
I hadn't thought of it until that, but yeah, you're right.
They see you again and they're like, oh, spleen girl.
Imagine. Still looking weird, I guess.
Yeah, how's that spleen going? That is quite, just when you think about it, the fact that they can just have a bit of a poke around and have a look, and it's like, hey.
That's not what you're there for.
Exactly. You don't get free spleen pics.
Right.
Imagine that just with the digital camera. over your spleen, like taking photos.
Just calling Geoff over, like, Geoff, check this out. What a freak.
He's holding it up like a fish, like a fishing photo. He like holds it closer to the camera as well, so it looks bigger. What does the spleen actually do? That's another one of those, like, it filters stuff out, right?
I assume so. I feel like I should have Googled this before going on the podcast.
Nah,
I don't know. We can Google it in a bit and find out.
It's
but
okay.
Yeah.
That's the homework for the listeners.
Yeah.
The next clip is from episode 65, Ocean Denham's 5 Tiny Joys. We had made the smart decision to strip them back to 5 joys after realizing how hard it was to get through 10 in one episode. This episode here was a lot of fun. Ocean is really, really on the ups at the moment. I believe she was even nominated for Best Female Comedian in New Zealand at the New Zealand Comedy Guild Awards. So if you don't know who she is now, I would be really surprised if you don't in a year's time. So great episode. Hope you enjoy it. Okay, so what was your next tiny joy?
Okay, my next tiny joy is when I see somebody who was mean to me at high school get a fringe, and the fringe is awful, and it matches that person's awful personality. I thrive. You know, people say that you shouldn't like bask in people's like
misfortune.
Yeah, but I say do it. Yeah. I don't think there's an issue. I say I don't care. Well,
it's like they've got the word in German Schadenfreude for when you feel good for seeing someone else feel bad, or whatever the expression was. Like, I mean, obviously people feel that if they had to come up with a word for it, right?
Yeah.
It's a human emotion.
The Germans know what's up. They obviously know what's up with, they've heard about the fringes. Yeah. They've heard about the fringes. But I just think sometimes, you know, obviously I don't want to piss on anyone's bonfire. You know, you want other people to do well. Yeah. But I think, you know, sometimes when somebody you don't like gets a real dodge haircut, you can have a wee giggle about it.
I've been sort of like, I'm approaching that age now where I'm expecting my hair to start falling out any day, but so far it's been so far so good. But like I have a similar thing where I'll see like the athletic jock dudes from high school who were like not necessarily bullied me, but not super kind to me, and I'll see that they're losing their hair, and I'll be like, yeah, where did all that fitness get you?
Yeah, well, God takes an inch for every time you're mean, so it's back there, sweets. It's back there.
I think it's like, what do they say? Every day above ground is a good day. Like for me, it's like every day with my current hairline is a good day. So,
you have a lot of hair. You're gonna be fine.
That was my hairdresser says, I have a lot of hair.
You got some luscious locks.
Yeah, I'm trying to grow it out as well now. So
really?
I think so. Although I think you've got thick hair, you said, right? So do you have to plan your week around like washing hair?
No, my mum's a hairdresser, so since I've been little, she's just always trained me. So I wash my hair once a week. Yeah. And then I can just look at it and be like, yeah, it needs a wash. But because I've got really thick, long, coarse hair, it feels like a horse when you like pat me. Right. I don't think, like once a week's all good. Yeah. I don't really have very oily or dry hair, so nice. I'm quite lucky.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's one thing as it's getting longer. I just shampooed it today actually, and I thought like, this is going to be a process once it's a bit longer.
Did you condition it as well?
I did, yeah.
Okay, you just said shampoo, and I started to get stressed that you didn't condition. Just
you
need to do two shampoos.
I did that, yeah.
Did you do two shampoos?
Two shampoos.
Did you do a conditioner?
Yep.
Okay, and then did you also put like maybe some argan oil in it? Did you do a hair mask?
I haven't gotten to that stage yet.
I think you should.
I think maybe Tara could give me some pointers.
Mama D would love.
Email into the show.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to ask about the fringe is I understand that in women culture, like cutting the fringe usually is like a refresh or like something has changed in your life, and that's why, changing the hair. So like the level of seeing someone after the fringe, is that also compounded by the fact that they're probably going through something as well?
Yeah, when you've got a fringe, you're going through trauma.
It's not going well for you.
No, it's not. It's a trauma response.
Okay.
You're going through the ringer, and I want to know about it because obviously you want everyone to know that you're suffering with that goddamn fringe.
Interesting.
Side bangs, I can kind of get behind. Fringes, I just don't really understand it. Like if you were my friend, I'd let you know what's up, dolls.
Right.
Let's talk about this before you go and ruin your hair. Let's unpack this together.
I wonder what it is about the fringe. Is there a look that people are going for, or is it just because it's different?
I mean, look, I don't have a fringe. I can't talk for the fringe community. But I had a fringe once, and I don't remember my life being good then. Right. That's what I will say.
Right. So maybe it's just one of those mysterious.
I think it's a trauma response.
Yeah. Fascinating. I don't think I have anything else to add to that.
Having a fringe is a call for help.
A call for help, yes.
Definitely.
So if you see a friend out there with a fringe, just, gently place your hand on their shoulder and ask them if everything's okay.
Yeah, you're right. You want to talk about that?
What's been going on?
Yeah, we'll move on to the next story if you've got nothing else for the fringe.
I think it spoke for itself.
Yeah.
I think. You've got kind of like a side fringe going on.
I do a little bit, and things are not going well. So.
Yeah, you know that thing is like, so tonight will be the night that I want fur for you. And it's kind of
like an emo.
Yeah.
It's definitely longer in the front, and I think I need to. My hairdresser just left the country as well, so I need to find a new. I think I might go to a barber and see what that's like. But yes, I very, very much do have a bit of a what is it, the Fall Out Boy kind of era mop going on. This is great for audio listeners. Let's move on to the next one. This next clip is from episode 67 with Anna from Paint and Sips Tiny Joys. Anna, I actually saw very recently. She came out and was at the taping of my comedy special, which really, really warmed my heart to see Anna there. So I don't think Anna listens to the podcast, but if you are Anna, shout out to you. Love what you do. Love the studio. And Anna runs a sort of casual, friendly art studio where you can have a few drinks and paint some stuff. We had been looking at making something happen there, but we couldn't quite get schedules to line up. Anna's a very busy woman. She has children, and is, children make it very hard to plan things, let's just say. So this clip here, quite fairly heavy topic. It was one of her tiny joys, but I thought it was something that you don't often hear people talking about. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Hope you enjoy it, and hope it brings something to your life.
So you kind of gave me a warning about the last one might be a little bit heavy, but then after you told me what it is, I thought, no, we definitely need to include this. So what was your last tiny joy there?
So my last tiny joy was getting that call from a surgeon that the operation that a loved one has just gone through was a success. And this is just a very recent and for the last 11 years, because my son has a complex heart condition and has had 4 open heart surgeries and countless other, procedures that have had him go under. And we've just recently come back from Starship. So when I think of joys, the first thing that comes to mind is just that pacing the halls of a hospital, getting that phone call and having the surgeon tell you everything went smooth. They're in, your loved one's in recovery. You'll be getting a call shortly when they're awake so you can come through to get them. And the amount of just unbridled joy you feel when you get that call, you almost think it's kind of, not that you ever want your loved one to go through this, but life is a roller coaster. So you kind of have to go through the lows to really experience those highs. And, when I think of a recent tiny joy, that's why I sanity checked it with Taylor, because I was like, I know this isn't a tiny joy, but it's such a profound joy. It's
a human experience, so we've all been in that situation. You're expecting 100%. A bad phone call and you get a good phone call instead.
Exactly.
What was I going to say about this? I think you said something about the dread you feel when you see the phone number come up. It's like that whiplash from dread to everything's okay must be you say, a roller coaster to go through.
That's exactly it.
And your boy's all right. You just went through it, and it's his birthday today. So he's
doing good. He's at school, so that's a good sign, right?
I'm sure he's stoked about that.
I never enjoyed school as a kid, though.
Maybe your boy likes it.
Well, he's got friends to play Pokemon cards with, So
there you go. That's right. And I guess is there anything else you wanted to add about that kind of what it's like for you as a parent going through that?
It's definitely, everybody has their thing, and I know sometimes, you're talking to friends about going through these things and then they go, oh, I'm sorry, I was complaining about my child's broken arm. And you're like, but that's just as traumatic. It's not a competition who's got the bigger surgery or who's got the bigger hardship. It's anything that we go through in life is what you're going through and is valid. So it's not, greater or lesser.
Exactly. It doesn't invalidate anything.
It doesn't invalidate. Everyone's entirely allowed to feel that feeling no matter what range of severity the thing is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which made me remember the quote about the art related thing that I was thinking of, which was, and I can't remember who this is attributed to, but it's something like, life beats you down and crushes your soul, and art reminds you that you have one.
Oh, that's
and so
really
it's
good.
and not just visual art, that's just one flavor, but I mean, I really encourage people to go out and see comedians like you. That's an art form. I encourage, going out and experiencing music, live music, dance, anything that speaks to your soul. I feel like there's so much healing value as a human being to experience the art, anything related to the arts, and art reminds you that you have a soul. So go out and dive into it.
The next clip is from episode 71, singing smutty books and smashing people at Mario Kart with Liv McKenzie. I enjoyed this episode a lot because I didn't expect Liv and I to get on as well as we did. Liv is one of the sort of upper level young comics here in New Zealand. She's on the TV all the time, and I'm just battling away down here. So, Liv was really lovely to talk to, and turns out we went to the same high school, and we had all these people that we knew in common. So it was a really good episode to listen to. Again, if you follow comedy in New Zealand, you already know who Liv McKenzie is. I was really shocked to learn that she is like an absolute fiend for Mario Kart. So that is the clip you're going to hear now.
What is your next tiny joy there?
What is my next tiny joy? Okay, my next tiny joy is playing Mario Kart with new people and then just like decimating them, because I'm very good at Mario Kart, and I think I'm like okay at it, and then I'll just be like and like I'll just win every single game, and everyone's like, what the fuck is happening? And I'm like, this is my first time playing. Is this good? Am I doing good? I'm not. I played like 300 hours on it.
Are you like a pool hall hustler where you'll let them think they're going to beat you and then
I would be.
As soon as there's money on the table, you just destroy them?
I kind of, if I could do that with Mario Kart, I would.
You'd never have to
I think
work
there's
again.
That would be the dream, mate. But then I just will, I'm very good in like with people who have like played casually, or, and then I'll go online and play and just get like rinsed by Japanese toddlers, just absolutely fucking smash. And it's embarrassing.
Who is your character that you like to play as in it?
I do Prince Rose Gold, Princess Peach, but I also do Roy. I don't know if you know Roy.
He's one of the Koopalings, isn't he?
He's one of the Koopalings. He's a big ass turtle. He's got sick little glasses. He has a microphone. I actually have a plushie of him somewhere that I got from the Nintendo store in New York. He's like, I love Roy, but I think Princess Peach is maybe a little lighter. She's like the one level down.
Yeah.
So I've switched to her, but I love Roy.
Oh, that's great. I was going to say as well, is there anything about Mario Kart in particular that, like, what is it about Mario Kart specifically that speaks to you?
So I was never very good at driving games, and like I was never allowed to have like a PlayStation or anything growing up because my mum hated me and didn't want me to have a good life. And no, she was just like, you already watch too much TV and we don't even have Sky. You're not getting a console. I was like, Mum, please. And so I think I tricked my granddad into buying me a Game Boy Color out of the buy, sell, and exchange. Wow. And so that all I had was like Pokemon games, which I love. But yeah, I was never a good like proper gamer. And when I moved to Auckland, a lot of my friends had Switches and we would play Mario Kart, and I was like, this game is really fun, bright colors, beautiful. It's ADHD, I think, that's speaking to me. And then when we went into that second lockdown that only ended up being 2 weeks, that like Jacinda announced at like 9 p.m. on a Wednesday, I was just like, I'm not doing this again, and made my friend take me to the warehouse, and I ran and I was like, I need a Nintendo Switch, and just bought Mario Kart, bought a Switch, and then basically just got high for 2 weeks and would play Mario Kart for like 6 hours a day. I like terrible, I couldn't move my thumbs, like such bad RSI. And then everyone was like we would all play online then in the lockdown, and my friends were like, have you been watching videos or something? Like, have you been cheating? Like, what's and I was like, no, I've just been playing so much that I just got crazy good in like a few days. I just got amazing.
You were like in a kung fu movie when they go into the wilderness in a little cabin
that
to
was
train for 2 weeks,
That
and
was
then you come back.
Yeah, that was me.
You're just monstrously
Except
good.
just stoned out of my mind on the couch playing Mario Kart. So it wouldn't have been a good montage because they would have been like, in the montage they'll switch from them like, they're like fighting a tree and then they're climbing up some stairs with like buckets of water. Like it would just be me playing Mario Kart in the couch and then me playing Mario Kart in bed and then me back on the couch and then me on another couch and I'm just doing the same thing.
That sounds like a great montage to me.
The next clip is from episode 74. Toy Story is actually horrifying. Seán tinkers tiny joys. Seán is a comedian and musician living down in Wanaka, which is a lovely little place. I've done a couple of gigs there. Seán has been a very gracious host to me in the past when I've visited to do a couple of shows. So shout out to Seán. Again, don't think Seán's listening, but if you are, buddy, hope all is well. And this episode here, we were talking about Seán's tiny joys, and he was saying one of his joys is analysing movies too much or over the top, something along those lines. And I wasn't quite sure what he was meaning, but when he started getting into it, I was like, yeah, this guy's making a lot of sense. So with that, hope you enjoy it.
Any other films you've looked at in such a critical lens?
So many. Toy Story.
Mm-hmm.
Buzz Lightyear, when he gets unwrapped, he's convinced that he is Buzz Lightyear, space cadet.
Yeah.
Right? But they're like, you are a toy. They cannot convince him that he's a toy, right?
Yeah.
Andy walks in the room, all the toys freeze up, pretend they're toys. So does Buzz.
Ah.
Why does he do that if he doesn't think he's a toy?
Man. That is some, who is the philosopher that believes that we're all, that said it was possible? The one that said, I think, therefore I am. Was that like Nietzsche, or was that even fit like Aristotle, that kind of era?
I think that was Dr. Dre, but yeah.
The great philosopher of our time.
Continue, yes.
Well, yeah, that whole idea of like our, our bodies could be real, but our mind is trapped. I think it was essentially the Matrix, but he referred to it as being like ensnared by the spell of a demon or something. It was the old-timey version of the Matrix. And I wonder if there's some kind of... What did you say?
He said he's also dated a Latin American. Ensnared by a demon. But yeah, maybe there's some kind of like... Because my theory with the toys from Toy Story is, are they robots or are they like what animates them? Do you know what I mean? Well, that was interesting because when in the very interesting you should say that, Taylor, because actually in Toy Story 4 when they created Spoonie, a spork, and it was a spork that the girl had like put googly eyes on and little arms, and then he became alive because he was now a toy.
So that means
some kind of curse in the Toy Story universe that makes all toys sentient creatures. A truly horrific existence, if you were to ask me. Because they could be easily pulled apart, fall apart, and yet they still live. When does a toy die?
Yeah, because it's almost like voodoo or something, isn't it? Like it's a humans make it real. It's like I've heard explanations for gods in certain fantasy novels that are their strength is tied to how many people believe in them. And
exactly.
I feel like that's a similar thing that's going on there with the toys, is that if humans make them real or sentient, then like you say, when does that go away? Is that a one-time like, oh, you're sentient now, welcome to a life of pain and fear?
Well, because Sid used in the first one, he would take toys apart and meld them together to create horrific hybrid beasts. Where is a toy's brain? Is it in the toy's head? They don't have a physical brain, so then is the brain in their legs?
This movie takes on a lot more sinister of a tone when you actually break it down like this.
Exactly, man. I'm just saying, gotta analyze these things. Another one for you.
Yep.
Cinderella.
Mm-hmm.
Classic story.
Mm-hmm.
Fairy godmother grants her a wish, gives her, a nice dress, shoes, pumpkin turns into a big carriage and stuff. Doesn't actually give her anything useful.
Just gives her some drip.
Yeah, just gives her, to be fair, outrageous drip.
Like, I got that Cinderella drip.
Actually, I take it back. Cinderella was class. The drip is undeniable. Let's strike that one to the list.
We should call her Rizzarella.
Rizzarella.
Cinder Rizzer. Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Start of the film. Luke Skywalker is in his little desert village.
Yeah.
With his aunt and uncle, hiding from the Empire, right? Because as we now know, spoiler alert, everybody, his dad is Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
Anakin Skywalker. If you were hiding from the most dangerous man in the universe, why would you keep the last name Skywalker? He's still called Skywalker.
It'd be almost the modern day equivalent of like going into hiding, but you kept the last name Hitler, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like what's his face? Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Mm-hmm.
He had to go into witness protection because he ratted out the Bloods / Crips.
Yeah.
Right? The man's got 69 tattooed all over his face. He's got rainbow colored hair and gold teeth. He's not going incognito.
Yeah. He's not going to blend in.
Exactly. I've always said it. Tekashi 6ix9ine is the Luke Skywalker of modern rap.
I never thought of that, but why would they keep the last name? That is hilarious.
That's foolish.
The guy who genocided a bunch of children.
Yeah, exactly.
The next clip is from episode 77, Breaking Down the Menu 2022 with comedian Geoff Wilson. Geoff's a fella that I've become sort of quite close with over the last year or so. He and I have a similar joy of really getting into the nuts and bolts of things like comedy, but then there's also a lot of philosophy that we talk about there. And so this episode here, we, without knowing it, actually started a sort of mini-series within this podcast, which we have been calling The Cost of Greatness. And so we discussed the movie The Menu, which is a very interesting movie. Depending on, I think, your point of view, you'll watch it in different ways. And so we were talking about what it was like to watch that as an up-and-coming / struggling artist, and what sort of commentary this movie kind of gives on the experience of somebody who's trying to be great at something. And is it worth it? Is it not worth it? That kind of thing. Stay tuned next year. We have done one of these for the movie Whiplash. So there'll be another one coming. The episode, if you're listening to this later on in the year, this episode might have been renamed to something like 77, The Cost of Greatness Part 1, Breaking Down the Menu with Geoff Wilson. Something along those lines.
And I guess that's that active choice. And this is me getting into that. My obsession, again, as you'll find out, is that very theoretical side. I'm so obsessed with the theory of things and thinking through things that sometimes it keeps me from practice. But the idea there being like, you can make stuff for people. You can try to impress them, but one, they might, well, like in your case of if you make the same video over and over, they might be like, well, is this all he does at a certain point? Like, you've attracted the people, they go, oh, cool, there's another video of that theme. But after a while, like, well, I guess that's all there is. And I've got my fill of that. I got my thing. So I'll go to something else. So the choice is, if you do make what you want to make when you want to make it, you will lose people, because there'll be people like, well, I don't want to see that new thing he's doing. I don't want to see that new whatever. Oh, that latest album, that latest comedy special. Yeah, it wasn't good as the last one. Yeah, I'm done. But that's a choice. You could either suffer and keep doing that same thing and burning out every day for, maintaining the persona in the face, or go, no, I'm going to do what I want. I'm not going to have as immediate of that, monetary ideally or whatever other hit it is, but it's a choice of what pain do you want. Life is pain.
Yeah, that's a fantastic quote. What kind of pain do you want? Because they often do say there's another expression of the pain of regret is much worse than the pain of failure, I think is the expression I heard. So yes, I think the other thing I wanted to touch on for the movie is the fact that he's created this island, Hawthorne. Well, I don't know if he created it as such, but it's his thing there. And the idea of having your dream, for lack of a better word, your Barbie dream house that you could, as so many comics I know have this kind of fantasy of like, I'd love to quit my day job because then I could just spend all day writing and I wouldn't have to worry about anything. But everyone that I know that's gone full-time does not spend all day writing, myself included. There's too much other stuff to do, but there's this very appealing idea of like, if I could just have this perfect
this perfect studio or whatever it is. If you're a ballet dancer, the perfect ballet studio, the perfect my own little comedy club and podcast studio, whatever it is. We have this idea that like problems. What's that?
Yeah, it'll solve all my problems if I.
Yeah, exactly. But I think this movie actually sort of points out how that actually isolates Julian more from everything else, because like I've always said that as a comedian, it's very important to have people in your life that aren't in comedy, because they will remind you that you're not special, and they will roast you and bring you back to earth almost constantly. So you need that, otherwise you fall out of touch with people, and then suddenly you're, unless your character is like, Ricky Gervais, I think, does a little bit of like, I'm rich and so much better than you, but for the most part, you need to be relatable to a certain extent to the audience. And, you look at, so I think Amy Schumer was a good example. She had this like rocket ship of a success, but then I remember when her special came out after all of this, people were like, oh, she's not really talking about the stuff that I can experience anymore. And so they fell off. And yeah, that's one thing. I think Kevin Hart, maybe to an extent, experienced the same thing when now he's in his own kind of stratosphere, and it's not as it's not as relatable as it used to be.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know why. I wonder what that is. I'm trying to like figure out what that idea is of why like we want other people to be exactly like us, because I've always had this weird conflict that I've seen, especially in comedy, of like, don't brag about the things you do have or whatever, but also don't, because I don't want to feel bad, but also don't not talk about it because, like, let's say outside of the stage or whatever, because I want to have that dream that I could actually get places too. I want to see a light at the end of the tunnel. This very much was kind of my brother was a chef. And he kind of felt this the same. Like both of us kind of grew up with this idea that we can't ever brag about anything at all. Like we're worried about bragging, which a lot of people in this movie are not worried about bragging. Most of the people in the movie are very much okay with bragging at all times. And I think that's part of that people pleaser. So we'd like tamp down any kind of joy we had and like never mention if we went on a trip with the parents or anything, because we're always worried about like looking like braggers. But yet people would also be like, hey, well, I want to hear those stories because it makes me feel like there's hope out there, that there's something else. So it's like it's this weird balance. You start potentially doing a disservice if you don't talk about authentically you. So like Amy Schumer and all the others, it's an interesting case of, like you're doing that. I like you because you're like me. I don't like you anymore because I don't relate. But yet, why don't do people not want to see something else? Do they not want to have differing opinions? And I guess it's where everybody's different and where they're at in their life and like what's going on.
The next clip is from episode 88, all about India, with comedian Ben Vyas. Ben is a relative newcomer on the Christchurch comedy scene. He is a really, really cool guy, really, really funny. Honestly, like of the new crop, absolutely one of my favorites, one of the funniest people there. He came on the podcast to chat about just sort of India in general. I believe we're going to bring Ben back at some point and sort of get into some more stuff about India because, it's a massive country with really, really interesting culture. Not long after this podcast, he actually gifted me with a little Ganesh figurine, which is sitting very proudly on my mantle alongside my Comedy Guild Award and the fake DVDs that I made of my own comedy specials. So thank you, Ben. You might be listening. If you are, shout out to you. I'm sure I'll see you at a gig very soon. In this episode, we were also talking about the movie called Mountain Man, and I had a fantastic revelation towards the end about how this movie is actually quite inspirational in, if you're feeling lost or you're feeling like a sense of despair because the world's kind of going to hell in a handbasket, this movie might help you understand a way that you can feel better about yourself pitching into your community. It's about picking one thing in your community that you can do that makes things a better place, rather than trying to fix everything at once and then getting overwhelmed and not being able to do that because, one person can't fix everything at once. So, yeah, great revelation. As I was saying it to Ben, I was thinking, I am only just realizing this for the first time myself now. So, yeah, hope you enjoy it too. If you think about the country as a whole, this guy cutting a hole in a mountain or cutting a path in a mountain is so insignificant and so tiny.
Yeah.
But then to the people living in that village, it's like literally the difference between life and death sometimes. And there's something so fascinating about that you think, like, and especially in this time of like us being so connected to the whole world and knowing about all the horror that's going on. Like we know about the bloody horror in like Palestine with Israel, and we know about like when COVID was happening, we just seeing how the rest of the world kind of fell to bits. And it must be kind of nice to just, all I need to worry about is
the mountain,
cutting a hole in this mountain. And if I can do that before I die, I've made a difference to the villagers. And you know, the country's still got a lot of issues politically and socially, but like I'm still doing something good. And so, that I found not necessarily inspirational, but I think, like people always say, if you're struggling with your mental health because of like you see all the other stuff that's going on in the world that you can't really do anything about, the counteraction to that is to do something in your community.
Exactly.
To I don't know. I think as humans we want to feel like we're doing something, right? Even if you're not. I think that's why like social media activism is like so rampant, because I'm sharing stuff and I'm clicking and I'm typing what I feel and I feel like I'm doing something, but. What are you really doing? Like, you're not really.
Action speaks louder than words, to be honest. And that's the biggest thing that I felt is like, it's very inspirational, especially in a country like India, because we always complain about the government. We always complain about, we've got potholes on the road. We've got the government systems fucked up, or whatever XYZ complaints that we have. But what are we doing from our end? That's what Dasharat Maji, who was not an educated man, he barely could read.
He was just a guy with a hammer.
He was just a guy with a hammer and a chisel. But what he decided was that, okay, I'm going to clean my surroundings. I'm going to clean my neighborhood. That's it. So if everybody does that, and everybody follows that, then the world is going to be a better place. So if you feel that, okay, there's something wrong happening, what can you do from your end? I'm not saying this put all the money that you saved your life or just give like a little bit of amount of your week or a month to do something good, you know?
It's like, I think people probably get paralyzed a little bit by not wanting to do like the right thing, wanting to do the best possible thing that they could for, you know, the world or something like that. And not directly so, but lately I've done a little bit of work with this. So this is very Christchurch, but there is a suburb in Christchurch called Hornby, which is where my family,
my brother lives in.
My dad's like roots are real deep in Hornby. And I've done a little bit of tangential stuff with the Hornby Residents Association. Like I've never actually done anything with them, but I've been to some meetings with them because we were going to do some fundraisers and stuff that didn't exactly pan out. But this is a good example. They've recently got a new swimming pool there.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at like a suburb as a whole, you think like, man, there's a lot of stuff here, and like in our mind, I think we think it all happened in one go. Like it just, someone clicked their fingers and like everything that's in this area was there. But this one swimming pool has been like many years of them just putting fundraisers and doing work to like sort of advocate for it, and it's just finished now, and apparently it's great. There's cycleways to get there, so you can cycle from Riccarton up to Hornby without actually having to be on the road, and like it's all great. And but I guess this idea of like you can't tackle these massive problems from like just as a whole. You have to kind of do small little things.
Exactly, like, small little things sum up. If everybody does small little things, and sum up to a larger purpose and a larger goal, and it's going to benefit the society. Even if it's just like picking up the trash and putting it in the trash can, that's it. I mean, that's the only thing you need to do, is you need to follow this certain small little things which can lead to, you know, better outcomes. So I mean, that's the reason why that movie is so inspirational, and I think everybody should just like once either watch it or just Google it and
and then just think about it. What is the mountain in your in your community or something? The next clip is from episode 94, Coffee Guild's Professional Box Tickers and the Crystal Pineapple with Mark Chirny Chirnside. Now, Mark is another guy that I've only recently got to know. I think the two of us had been aware of each other for a long time. Mark actually ran for mayor whenever our last election was, 2 years ago, not quite sure. Mark runs a very successful cafe and barista training sort of company. We attempted to run a puns night comedy show at his venue, but unfortunately did not get any punters. So we're probably going to give that a crack later in 2025, probably the end of January, early February, some kind of time around there. But yeah, Chirny Mark is a really, really interesting guy. He makes a lot of stuff happen, and he just does things that are weird and interesting, and I mean that in the best possible way. It's not this, like, the Crystal Pineapple, I believe that's what I'm talking about here, because he'd mentioned the Crystal Pineapple cult or something. What did he call it? I think it was Crystal Pineapple Guild, something like that. And I didn't really get what he meant, but then when he told me the story, I was like, that is an incredible story. So I hope you enjoy it too. I had to include it because it's a bananas, weird, hilarious story. So I hope you enjoy.
But back to the Pineapple Syndicate, which is what I'm doing. There's a crystal pineapple that was for sale.
Okay, like a crystal model of a pineapple kind of thing.
It's a model of a pineapple.
Yeah.
And it's made of lead crystal, weighs 8 kilograms.
Okay, yeah.
It's huge. Mm-hmm. And the furniture store next to my cafe sells very fancy furniture.
Yeah.
And I would deliver a hot chocolate to the owner a couple of times a week.
Yeah.
And I would walk past the crystal pineapple, which was for sale.
Yeah.
And in my heart, I had to sort of wrestle with the feeling of looking at this pineapple, which I had complicated feelings about.
Yeah.
It cost $1,500.
Holy shit.
And people would ask, like, well, does this pineapple, can you put something in it? Like a drink?
What is the purpose of it kind of thing?
Well, it's a $1,500 paperweight.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really big and heavy.
You've got it there, have you?
This is the pineapple.
Okay.
You can see the pineapple right here. What do you think?
Oh, that is nice, yeah. It's got the gold, like, leaves on the top of it.
Grass leaves on the top.
So for the audio-only listeners, is it an Instagram account just called Crystal Pineapple?
Well, we're getting there.
Okay, so let me just finish the description. It looks like one of the eggs from Game of Thrones. It's kind of made of triangles by the look of it, and it's, a glass egg, and then it has this nice gold sort of, gold leaf things on the top. So please continue.
So, I remember sort of mentioning to some of the staff at the store.
Yeah.
So I would sort of questioningly interact with the staff of this shop, saying like, "This pineapple,
what's
right?
the deal with the pineapple?
This pineapple is quite a nice pineapple." And they would just say nonchalant, "Oh, it's lovely, isn't it? Yeah, my husband bought it for me for my birthday."
Uh-huh.
And I was like, "Wow!" Like there is like it just made me realize that. Like for me, I indulge in $8 cups of coffee. And some people are like, why would you spend that much money? Do you understand how much food that could buy?
Yeah.
$8 could it's a lot of money to buy a cup of coffee. And for me, it's like a similar bewilderment at a $1,500 paperweight that is an ornamental. But people just, spend 50 grand on a living room.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But in my heart, I had to reconcile, like when I went in one day, the pineapple was gone.
So someone had purchased
Someone had purchased it. And I was just like shocked, bewildered, angry, upset.
Yeah.
There's a feeling of grief.
Yeah.
And I had to realize that actually in my heart, it was envy.
Right. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And I've thought about this a lot, as you can see.
The pineapple's been up in your brain.
It's like when you see a Tesla and you're like, oh, Silicon Valley douchebag.
Oh, yeah, this guy,
And then it pulls over and it's your uncle. It's like, hey, Taylor, come take it for a spin. And you're like, oh, yes, please.
Yeah.
Like for all of our talking smack about people who have nice things, it was a spirit of envy. And within 1 week of me showing that listing to people, saying, look at this pineapple. What do you think?
Yeah.
Everyone said, oh, that's a nice pineapple. Oh, screw that. $1,500. That's absurd.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, do you want to come in with me? Like,
and see the pineapple.
No, if we all
chip in,
if you chip in, we can all get it together and we can have it a couple of weeks of the year.
like a
timeshares,
like a timeshare,
yeah,
like a condo.
So basically, it took me and so many people. They said, "Screw that, that is dumb,"
right?
And they immediately they suddenly flipped to saying, "How much are we talking?"
Yeah. How many others are in on this?
Oh, I got $1,500 raised in a week. We'll put it that way.
So you've got the pineapple.
Yes, we have the pineapple.
Oh my god! So you've crowdfunded
the pineapple,
a crystal pineapple,
and part of me thinks because I went into the store. I was like, I'm getting the pineapple.
Yeah.
When are they coming in? They said we've got 6 more coming in December.
Right.
And I was like, well, put me down for one of them.
Oh, so this initial pineapple disappeared, and then that was sold, and then
the factory sent 6 more.
Yeah,
and we were able to get one.
Oh my god!
These aren't unique pineapples.
No,
they just come off a factory production line.
$1,500. So how many?
It's now up to $1,800 inflation.
Wow,
the price has gone up.
How many people did you have to get in on this to pull it all together?
That's confidential.
Okay, yeah, so fair enough. I understand that. So where have you currently got the pineapple, or is that what the Instagram page that you sent me was, or you showed me before? Is that to track where the pineapple is?
The current location of the pineapple is confidential.
Yep, I can understand that. Yeah,
you can still keep asking questions.
I guess how did it feel to purchase the pineapple in the end? Like, was it a sense of victory?
It was victory. It was amazing. And we have met because we're a syndicate and we have a constitution written up.
Oh, so when you say the pineapple syndicate, this is you're in this.
I'm the secretary of the pineapple syndicate.
Okay. I thought this was when you first mentioned it. I thought this was like, you were getting into the pineapple game and there was like a guild of pineapple people that were coming down on you or something. So
I see. Well, here's the thing. The pineapple, to the people that the pineapple is meant for, it is simply an item on a shopping list to kit out their lounge.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks about the pineapple at all.
Yeah.
Like, it was just a nice looking item which they put in their shopping trolley and then put into their nice house.
Yeah.
And no one thinks about it.
No.
Except for me.
Yeah.
But when I drew attention to the pineapple and I showed it to my friends, they saw what I saw.
Yeah. The next clip is from episode 97, Am I the Asshole with Dave Adams. So Dave is another guy, one of the sweetest guys in comedy, hilarious comedian. I wish we could see more of Dave, but unfortunately he's busy having a successful business, marriage, being a good father, and he just generally does not have the hole in his soul that I think a lot of comedians try to fill with comedy. So now Dave's a great guy. I went around to his house and we recorded an episode where we went through some threads on Am I the Arsehole on Reddit together. And the first one I thought we could lead with was one that stuck in my mind for so long. It is about a guy eating something like 3 or 4 feet of a sandwich and being a little bit confused about why his friends were so upset about that. So it's a great episode. Check out the whole episode if you want. We're definitely going to do more of them. But this particular Am I the Arsehole was a bit of a Hall of Famer as Am I the Arseholes go. So hope you enjoy.
And I haven't heard any of these before now, so this is all first time I'm hearing it.
I've been curating these for when did we decide we're going to do this? About a month ago. I've been curating these. So the first one here, he opens it. The thread is called Am I the Arsehole because I ate more than my share of a 6-foot party sub last night? So Dave's head just rolled back with laughter. So it says, what I thought would be a total non-issue has ballooned into a huge problem, and I'm up at 7:05 a.m. dealing with it. I figured while I wait for a text, I could post here to see what I did that was really bad. It says, I'm a big fat ass. There's no way around it. I love to eat. Mood. I'm with him right here, you know what I mean? Which probably borders on addiction, but I figure since I'm only hurting myself, it's probably better to just live my life. Holy shit. I have some great friends, although there is no doubt I'm the harmless, funny, token fat guy of the otherwise pretty good-looking group. I guess that sets the stage enough. Last night my friend hosted UFC and I was invited. Great fat guy activity is UFC. He got a 6-foot party sub
So that's like
what's a party sub?
It's like a Subway sandwich, like a sandwich, and you can buy like really long ones that are like you just cut.
Oh, 6 foot,
6 feet long. So as
sorry,
long as
I was thinking 6 inch. I was like, that's not a party sub. It's just a normal sub.
That's a shindig at best.
Put some like what? They put some
true.
sparklers on it or something.
Party sub. It's a little top hat on or something. So yeah, 6 feet long, about as long as you're taller than 6 foot.
Yeah,
aren't
I'm
you?
6'3", so about me.
Oh yeah. So yeah, one and a bit. Dave is 1 and a bit. Party sub long.
That's my middle name. Dave Party Sub Adams.
Party sub Adams. So I also brought some homemade wings that are sort of my speciality. Well, of course, people flock to the food, and I had basically 1 serving of the sandwich, which he's a little vague on what a serving is.
What's a serving of a 6 foot?
But people devoured my wings, and I didn't get to have a single one, which is totally fine. That's why I brought them. But maybe an hour later, I was starving. I kept eyeing the sandwich, and I'd say there was about 3 feet of it left. Which that image in my head of him like staring at the UFC and his eyes just like going to the side and looking at the sandwich.
Yeah.
I waited an hour. Then after another half hour, no one had touched it, but they were still munching on chips, pretzels, and whatnot. So I was like, screw it. I took about half of what was left and ate it.
Oh yeah, so that's a foot and a half.
Yes, about a foot and a half. Well,
Okay.
What did he say? Yeah, there was about 3 feet left, so he ate a foot and a half of a sandwich, and he's already had 1 serving.
Oh, he's already had one.
But unclear how long.
3 feet the first serving, and then
then the last half sat there for another 10-15 minutes, and no one said anything, so I ate the rest. Now I think that's where he fucked up a little bit. There is because like
he ate the rest.
he's
Shit.
He's eaten like 3-4 feet of this sandwich at this point.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
So how do you feel at this point? I feel like 15 minutes is. He should have waited another hour before he went for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think I think we all have our food weaknesses. Now, when I'm in a party scene and there are salt and vinegar chips in a bowl, I know that personally I have no control over myself, and if I sit by that bowl, I will consume that whole bowl. Until they're gone. And so I need to kind of remove myself from that situation or physically hand that bowl to someone else. So I don't know. I mean, maybe party subs is this guy's weakness. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm also a big guy, so people do tend to kind of, like in family situations, when you have a family dinner, people tend to kind of offer any leftovers to me.
Oh, they just know like Dave's good for it.
Well, he's a big guy. He'll eat it. So I kind of get the situation. That being said, 3 feet plus an undisclosed serving. That's like 3 foot long plus more.
That's a lot of
That's
sandwich.
a lot.
Yeah.
I think.
So he does give a little more context towards the end, but yeah, that's how we feel.
Does he do like a last calls thing in there?
That's what he should. Yeah, last call of like, hey, is anyone planning on eating the rest of this? Because I'm sure they would have. Well, based on the rest of how this plays out, yes, they would have piped up if he had said that. So it says, well, to be sure, as I was swallowing the last bite of the host's. As I was swallowing the last bite, the host's girlfriend asked where the sandwich was. Like I was the guilty party, pretty much everyone pointed at me. Like he's a dog and they're shaming him or something, eh? I guess they'd noticed me eating the sandwich. Yeah, they're going to notice you carrying a foot and a half of sandwich back to your chair. She was furious and said I was an incredible pig and that I had been super selfish to eat 3 feet of a sandwich. Imagine that you're measuring a sandwich in feet. That is insane.
I mean, how much intestine has this guy got? I mean,
it's
got to like filter through somewhere. It's like,
this was like Joey Chestnut's story or something. I don't know if you know who he is. He's like a famous competitive eater.
Yeah.
I felt so bad, which, he's showing remorse. I tried to explain to her that I really did wait over an hour and thought people had lost interest. Which, again, this was the mistake the guy made, was like, I think big people don't realize that skinny people aren't always thinking about food, and they're just like, oh, it'll be over there. It's like they've got object permanence. It's going to be where I left it.
Yeah.
So then I tried to explain however, and I ate my wings, and she said something along the lines of, you brought them to share, Alan. If someone had eaten over half by themselves, that's not fucking sharing, is it? I offered to go order pizza or to go get Subways, and she said it was a pathetic offer because the party sub had been from a local shop owned by her friends. I said I was sorry, but the night was so tense from then on out. So I don't know. I feel like they should have accepted his apology there. Like,
yeah. I mean, I guess the other, there's two other things in this equation. Is wings an equivalent?
I don't think it is.
I don't think. I feel like that's a throwaway line right there. That's not like a hey, you ate my tiny batch of wings and I ate half your sandwich.
The next clip is from episode 89 with Courtney Dawson. Now, again, if you follow New Zealand comedy, you will already know who Courtney is. Courtney was visiting Christchurch for a couple of gigs and managed to fit a bit of time in to come and do the podcast. And, man, I have to say, like, every year we do these Comedy Guild Awards for, like, funniest, best newcomer, best producer, etc., etc. And there's always, like, a sort of... They have best male comedian and best female comedian, and like, man, I gotta say, like, Courtney, I think, is my vote for best female comedian in New Zealand at the moment. Like, she's just so naturally funny on and off stage, and she had me laughing so much throughout this interview. And in this part of the interview, we were doing another Am I the Asshole? And Courtney was giving her impressions on whether or not this person was the asshole or not.
I'll read the first one to you because you were just talking about being a parent before, so this might you might have some good insight on this. So this one here says the person's 26 and their sister is 36 with a 13-year-old son called Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
It was Tyler, the name Tyler. So they got ready. I'm just sort of paraphrasing because it is a long one, but basically what happened was they left this kid Tyler like sort of unattended with some other kids, and they just hear something crash down the stairs, followed immediately by shouting. Everyone's first instinct was to rush into the room, and so we did. We saw Tyler and Brooklyn wrestling over some crutches, like the crutches that someone needs to walk on the couch. Well, I think Brooklyn needed these crutches. Brooklyn was sitting on the couch. Tyler was standing behind the couch, so he was kind of trying to wrestle this crutch off her. Brooklyn ended up falling backwards off the couch, and she started crying, and it turns out the crash was Tyler throwing the other crutch down the stairs. And then
classic Tyler move.
That's a real Tyler move, isn't it? So then they started arguing, and basically Tyler's mum said like, oh, he's just a kid, he doesn't know any better, and no one was hurt. And so the person who wrote it was kind of like saying, is 13 years old like too old to know better, or old enough to know better that you shouldn't throw someone's crutches down a flight of stairs?
This one is so easy. Fuck yeah, that's old enough. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah. Like it is crack up, and like, bro, we all lose our tempers sometimes, and I think that it's not really on the kid so much that like, yeah, that is a thing that can happen. But the parent just being like, oh, he's just a kid. Like, no, bro, that kid needs to learn a motherfucking lesson. You can't just go chucking, no matter how funny it is, you can't just go chucking crutches at your, I'm assuming, what is it, a sister or like maid or whatever?
I think, cousin maybe or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. 13 is, and also like, how long 13? Like 13 in 1 month?
Yeah.
Or 13 and 11 months.
Yeah.
That time does make a big difference. Nah, fuck no.
So he's definitely old enough to know better for that one.
At least make an apology or do something to poor Brooklyn. Also, fuck Aussie kid Brooklyn. Oh my God, I hate the names in this.
It is.
Sorry if anyone's got those names.
Yeah, Tyler and Brooklyn, those are pretty red flag names, aren't they, for kids? Yeah.
I think the other red flag for name for kids is Connor.
Oh yeah. There's no it's setting them up for a life of.
They're always insane.
Right.
Yeah. No offense, Connor's out there. I'm sure there is a nice Connor.
I know. I'm trying to think if I know a co-worker of my flatmates who's a good lad. I think does the number of N's in Connor change whether or not?
I think it's CONNOR is the
problematic one.
The problematic one.
Okay.
Yeah. And also, like, I'm sure, adult Connor's fine, but like, read the school reports.
Oh, there's a lot of issues there.
Yeah, absolutely.
This next bit is from that same episode, 89, Courtney Dawson interview, and I just had to get her to tell the story about a time she foiled somebody trying to shoplift at a store she does a little bit of part-time work at, and it's just a great story. And I hope you enjoy it.
Do you want to tell the story about you hindering that robbery at your job on here, or are you sick of talking about that by now?
Nah, it's like I went back to retail because I spent all my money that I made last year. So much money, most amount of money I've ever made in my life. Spent it all, and so I went back to my retail job. And have you ever worked in retail?
I've been in hospitality, which is close, but never actually selling
Brothers.
stuff.
Yeah, we're neighbours.
Neighbours. That's a good way to put it. I'm not like a super observant person, especially if I'm like focusing on a task. So I was like focusing on like detagging all these clothes, and my 2IC came up to me and she was like, "Oh no, that lady's just walking out." And I looked up the top of the stairs, and there was this lady standing there, and she just had her arms full of shit. Like she had like a different hat on than she walked in the shop. Right. This like massive bag of stuff, and she was just like, "Thank you, bye," and left. And then everyone was just looking at her, and I was like, "Get the fuck out of my way, man! I'm chasing this bitch." So I chased her up to the top of the thing, and like this is so embarrassing. Whenever I like stop like shoplifter, I'm still in customer service mode to a degree, so I always say excuse me. So I'm like running down the road being like, "Excuse me, excuse me, you can't just say that." And she was like, fuck off, you fucking ugly bitch. And she got in the car, but she was so dumb, she put the stuff in the back seat and then got in the front. So my brain was just like, well, now I'm going to open the door of this moving car. Like, that's what I'm going to do now. So I just popped it open, yanked it out, and like she definitely got away with some stuff. But I was just like, I was not having it, man. I used to be quite a bad like rumbucks in the club kind of a girly. Like I used to fight a lot when I was there. Oh my God, so bad. This is this thing that the secret about women that I think that people don't really understand is when you're in like between 18 and 22 are just filled with just like a really intense rage. Really?
Yeah. I don't know what it is, but like I was so angry. Me and my friends were just so angry.
Really?
And yeah, so we all, I mean, obviously not all women, but you know, that's the experience that I've like talked about with like quite a few different women. And so we would just go to the club and just have fights with other angry women.
Really?
Yeah. And so like I have this like fight lizard brain, which is like as soon as like there's like a tense situation, the two things that I either go is either like completely stand back and like try and break it up. That's what I usually do now that I'm old. But yeah, when that lady shoplifted, my whole 20-year-old brain just like kicked in. I would have fought her on the street. Wow. And that's not good. I don't think you should do that.
It's honorable, I think. You know, you can't go around stealing stuff. I think it's unequivocal. We could say it's not okay.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I don't mind a bit of stealing.
Right. Well, I suppose it depends. Like, the next clip is from episode 95, Bilingual Comedy and International Travel with Elisa Bonafous. Elisa is a French-born stand-up comedian who was residing in Auckland for a little bit. Unfortunately, she's had to leave. I think she went to Canada. I can't quite remember. She did tell me, or somebody told me. But this episode was great. We were talking about the idea of identity, as Elisa had a show called Am I a Surfer? And so we were talking about, I asked her where the name came from, and then she started talking about a concept I was literally thinking to myself the night before about, like, how does one decide their identity? Can you decide your identity? How long do you have to say you've been doing something before you can call yourself a, surfer, for example? So yeah, really interesting little bit there. I hope you enjoy it.
Like I changed identity also.
Yeah.
Like moving here. And it's a question because you never really know when you become something. Like when can you tell that, like, oh, I'm a stand-up comedian. When can you start saying that? Like,
it's so different, right?
Yeah. Is it the first time that you do an open mic? Is it the first time you get paid? Is it the first, like when you do it 3 times a week for a year? Like, when can you tell that? And so it's always a question.
I feel like we have such a loose definition of pro comedian in New Zealand as well. Like, a lot of people call themselves pros, but maybe it's a little autism coming through, but I get stuck on like definitions sometimes. And I think the definition of pro is that like you do it for your profession, which is not true for many people. But then I also think, well, what are we supposed to call it? You know, like you can sort of call it maybe the upper level comedians or something. But yeah, it's such a great, a wide gray area for that, isn't it?
Exactly. And it's the same for surfing. Like, are you a surfer when you start your first lesson of surfing, when you own your board, when you go pro? Like, you can't really tell. I was watching it was a TV series. You probably wouldn't know them. Well, actually, how long have you been over in New Zealand for? Was it just about a year ago, you said? 2 years. 2 years. Yeah. So there was this Australian comedic duo called Hamish and Andy, and one of their pranks they did was one of them entered in a bodybuilding show, but he's not a bodybuilder at all. And the guy who was judging, he said something, he referred to him as an athlete, and the guy was like, I'm an athlete. And the guy says to him, you're an athlete when you walked in here, you're an athlete when you walk out of there. So like, maybe it is up to you. It's like, I would consider you a surfer. You surf better than I do. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's all relative, isn't it? And the final piece for 2024 is from episode 96, What is Meditation, with Dan Burgess-Milne. This one was off the back of a nerd night talk that Dan gave. We later learnt that he and I went to I remembered him from high school. We went to the same high school. And the Nerd Night folk put him in touch with me to do a sort of follow-up to a talk that he gave called Shifting Paradigms. And so this talk was really interesting. Like, Dan's a very, very smart guy, and he thinks a lot outside the box. And I think where he and I connected a little bit is the idea of living the life you want to lead rather than the life others want for you. So what we were talking about in this episode, we sort of went into it with the theme of maybe we'll talk about meditation. And I actually didn't realize this, but the whole meditation kind of, concept, let's call it, the whole meditation thing. Well, actually, more specifically, so the concept of meditation that we all think of kind of in the West, of calming the mind and all that sort of, clear thoughts, that sort of thing, is actually only 50% of what meditation can or perhaps should be used for. And Dan was telling me about that there, and I thought, man, that is a really mind-blowing kind of concept there. So hope you enjoy it, and maybe it'll inspire you to start thinking about things in a different way.
Meditation through that lens is an investigation into the nature of mind, and it's coming from a cultural idea that that's actually fundamental, that's what's giving rise to our experience. And so the same way, this is why I use the analogy of physics, is that like in our culture, if you're trying to get to the core root of what's giving rise to our experience, then in a material view of the world, you look at like the smallest possible material particles that you can find, and how do they interact and give rise to complexity.
Yeah.
But in this other lens, it's like if it's the conscious experience that's giving rise to our experience, then how do you provide the space to investigate that? So the same way that in physics, say, you need to develop certain tools, the samatha work, in some ways you could look at is that's the tool just to still the mind enough to be able to then investigate the actual fundamental patternings that are giving rise to the experience.
Yeah.
So we're doing the stilling the mind part, and that can be helpful. If you're doing it, say, 20 minutes a day, that can help provide a sense of more calm, more ease. But in these other cultures, the question still then is like stilling the mind in order to then do what?
Yeah.
And, they talk about these certain contemplations that orient the mind towards awakening. And one of them is like how fortunate we are to have this experience of being a human being that has leisure time.
Yeah.
That we're not just constantly trying to meet our survival needs.
Yeah.
And in our culture, with our leisure time, largely what we're doing is finding forms of entertainment.
Yeah.
In this culture, it's like once you've been able to create this space, then investigate the true nature of reality, But their model of what that investigation should look like is different than, say, like a Western lens.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so when we take those tools and we apply them to achieve like a Western outcome, they can be helpful, but we're also sort of not having that question because, in like a a scientific paradigm, I can't think of a better tool that, say, increases the capacity of what is possible. You know, you can kind of like, what happens when we put all this shit together in a pot? What's going to emerge? And so the capacity of what we can do as humans is hugely opened up by this kind of investigation. But the question of like what we should be doing, it's almost by necessity not part of that conversation.
Yeah.
And the more that we're sort of removed from anything that we might call religious because of all the harm that it's done in the past, the less we sort of have that cultural space to say like, actually what, I mean, firstly, what the fuck is actually going on?
Yeah.
And then secondly, like what is actually sort of meaningful and of value?
Yeah.
And yeah, so the meditation really is sort of starting to ask those questions in an almost sort of scientific way, where it's this rigorous investigation of the mind itself.
Yeah.
It just sits in a different worldview. Yeah.
Man, okay. I understand your talk a lot better now, actually, now that you've... It's almost like without me knowing all that meditation stuff, I got the kind of paradigm shift thing you're talking about, but I wasn't exactly sure what they would look like or what your theory is to what they would look like. And so now with all the meditation stuff, it's not necessarily that you're saying this is what it might look like, but you're saying like this is how I'm trying to figure out what that is, kind of what the next paradigm shift could be.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing where... So, yeah, I mean, I will say that this is a quote from Einstein, you know. Everyone says it's from Einstein.
Right.
It's hard to know sometimes. Like, I think a lot of things get accredited to him.
Oh, yeah.
But it's this idea of, like, you know, you can't solve a problem with the thinking that caused it.
Yeah.
And I think we're just at a cultural moment where, like, if you look at the way that the culture's playing out and you try and solve, like, the existential crises that have arrived,
yeah,
it doesn't really look like there's a solution.
Yeah.
Know? So we need, by necessity, it's like the challenges and the suffering of the moment are almost by necessity bringing about that we're going to have to do something different.
Yeah.
We also know from history that people who think they know exactly what we should do, it usually doesn't go so well.
Yeah.
So the question is like, and also in some ways, like, as much as we develop pathways to make sort of accurate predictions in time, it's still like it's a completely unknown factor. So you could build up this great model, but all you're really doing by like focusing too hard on the vision of what you think it is actually reducing the scope of vision. So the question more is like, how do you lay the fertile cultural ground and values that can move into that higher possibility space?
Yeah.
And that's something about sort of the value set that we have. And maybe that's less prescriptive about what it looks like.
Yeah.
But what are the values that we would need to encourage to start to bring that about?
Yeah.
And we were talking before about, you know, like I'm going into the schools and doing this like game theory education.
Yeah.
One of the ways that I frame it is that our education system generally trains people really well to solve problems within the rules that we've developed ourselves for our culture.
Yeah.
There's nothing universal about those rules. It's a set of like way of being that we're all playing a game of, essentially.
Yeah.
What we're not really teaching, or we just don't really provide the lens to think about, is if you play any game, when you change the rules of that game, it changes your incentives within the game and changes the way you play. So, you know, I think a lot of people are looking at how do I achieve the best within the cultural values that I'm in. Like so many kids now are sort of the primary thing. What do you want to be? They want to be, you know, an influencer or an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not necessarily about the value of what it is. It's about the, like, I want to make money on my own terms.
Yeah. Ooh, we got through all of them, didn't we? Look at that. An hour and 20 minutes-ish of content. The best of Ruddle Me This 2024. It's been a tough year at times. We've had some, I always tell people when they ask, how you doing, Taylor? I say, you know, it's it's peaks and valleys, isn't it? It's been a lot of valleys this year, let's just say. But you know what they say, bad times generally is what creates good art. So I hope my podcast can be considered among some of this good art being put out in hard times. I was debating whether or not to talk about this here. I might as well chuck it in because it's a little bit of a maybe, but I have been applying for part-time jobs, bits and pieces here and there over the last few weeks. Maybe I'll talk about this more in the State of the Ramble, which is dropping next week, the 30th of December, where I really assess my year, how I did on social media, everything like that. And I mean, spoilers for that. If it's been a lean year, like normally I have 5 or 6 Christmas functions booked over Christmas, but have not had I've had one a couple of weeks ago, but other than that, man, it's everyone's pretty skint at the moment, so it's been a quiet Christmas season for me, which has led me to sort of reevaluate a little bit what I'm kind of doing to make money. And I was looking at some part-time casual work, that kind of thing. Wasn't having a lot of luck, to be honest. The job market in New Zealand is fucking rough at the moment. Every day it feels like you're getting announcements that, Health NZ or whatever they are cutting frontline staff. ANZ laid off 27,000 people or whatever it was. It's constant. So, this year it's going to be a tough Christmas for a lot of people. I think I'm going to be fine regardless. But to cut a long story short, I've been looking into some part-time work, and I haven't been having a lot of luck. But I actually did get a call back in the middle of recording this episode. I figured that would be the best way to to prompt them to call me back, because I got the text, "Are you available for a chat?" So I thought, let's start recording the podcast, and halfway through, get the call back. So a very promising chat. I won't say much more about that. It's just a sort of casual work. Casual contract work that if I get it, I think I'm going to be very happy doing. And it's going to make doing stuff like Ruddle Me This and the quizzes and comedy a lot easier. It's going to take a little bit of that financial strain off me, which is, I've been really feeling the squeeze a little bit. Like, I'm making my payments. But yeah, nightlife is quiet at the moment. People don't, I think I said something to someone today that my whole industry, I guess if you will, is predicated on the fact of people having an extra couple of $100 in their pocket to go out and see a show, come to a quiz night, have a few drinks, play some bingo, whatever it is. And man, people just don't have that at the moment. So I'm sorry to end on a little bit of a somber note. I probably should have saved this for the next week, but I thought, while it's fresh in my mind and I've got a little bit of optimism, because if this job works out, I think it's going to make 2025 a lot less stressful of a year for me. So watch the space, I guess. I'll give the update, I don't know, sometime in the new year about whether I got it or not. I probably won't be able to talk about much of it on the podcast, but I will mention whether I got it or not. And I think if I get that, then that's just a good sign that I'm going to be okay in 2025. So once again, 3 days to go. Panic at the Buffet dropping the 26th of December, Boxing Day. Christen those new devices that I know Santa's going to be bringing you by watching Panic at the Buffet. Hope we get some views up. Man, let's just hope this is the one that pops off and helps me get, I don't know, get some fans, whatever you want to call it. I would like this special to do well. So thank you again for listening. That is the best of Ruddle Me This for 2024. Have a lovely Christmas. Have a safe New Year. Stay safe on the roads, you maniacs. And the Ruddler will be back next week for a sort of 2-year anniversary and State of the Ramble 2024. But until then, Ruddler over and out. Thank you for listening to Ruddle Me This. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave me a review on your favourite podcast platform. You can find me on social media at Taylor Ruddle Comedy on all the major platforms. You can also join patreon.com/Taylor Ruddle Comedy for free, which gets you access to all sorts of extras and behind-the-scenes content, as well as allows you to communicate directly with me and let me know what you think of the show. Tune in again next Monday for another episode of Ruddle Me This, and until then, Ruddler out.
This has been a Tape Deck Media production. Thank you for listening. Hey, it is Ryan Seacrest. There's something so thrilling about playing Chumba Casino. Maybe it's the simple reminder that with a little luck, anything is possible. ChumbaCasino.com has hundreds of social casino-style games to choose from with new game releases each week. Play for free anytime, anywhere for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
As humans, we're naturally driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search. Match with Indeed. When I was looking to hire someone, it was so slow and overwhelming. I wish I had used Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.